Hey everybody, this is Brad Dyke saying hi. I just wanted to reach out to you real quick and try to tackle a few things that have kind of come up. Now, over the past 2 years, as I've been introducing technologies and how to think outside the box, I have developed kind of a fan base. Thank you very much, by the way. It is appreciated. I'm not very good at this, so please forgive me. The videos are interesting and they twist to the left and they twist to the right, but there is a symmetry to it to a point. But I wanted to acknowledge a couple of things, such as 0001. He is always out there and he's definitely thinking outside the box. And Paul, you're also very capable and competent. Got some great insights and recommendations. And there's so many of you that I've kind of glanced with on things like the Pi, the Intel Pi platform, and some of the other more Mercurial style things. And of course, some of my counterparts, such as Linus and Martin and others out there that I really enjoy their videos. I don't know if they'd get any enjoyment out of mine. But I thought this would be an opportunity for me to offer some questions to you, and maybe you could give me some answers. Roughly out of about 2,500 of you out there, I've got about 25 or 30 of you that are really kind of following the format. This format is actually going in a direction. I wanted to introduce people to the baseline technologies, and then I wanted to introduce them to server line equivalencies and show them how you can be and do these things in server IT administration without paying the big bucks. Yes, it is really cool to have a quad CPU monster that, digests memory for brunch, but no. The reality of the fact is most of us are poor, including me. I don't have any money to work with except for the money I pull out of my own pocket. I'm agnostic, which means there are no vendors that support me. When I say I like a product, it's based on 32 years of experience. I like a product. There's nobody out there dangling a piece of hardware in front of me or a graphics card or something like that. I just go out and buy it if I can and diagnose it, resolve it, figure it out, and so on. So the thought was that as I'm going forward, I'm beginning to move into some other things, and so here they are. One is, how do you administrate an enterprise environment? Kind of sounds a little dry. Not really. How would you like to deploy 150 servers in 2 hours? Not so dry anymore, right? But you can do that. How can you deploy servers that aren't servers? That's something else. Docker and Curmudgeon are out there. How do they help you? You're the guy who's just learning the basics. I want the operating system environments. I want the baseline, service components. I want the command kernels and so on. You can get all that, but it takes a few steps. When you have an environment, what does it really take to make it work and to keep it working? And if you made a mistake, how do you recover? Very valuable things, very good lessons to learn. And even if you're in any environment, from a TrueNAS storage environment to a NetApp platform to a Dell EMC platform or a legacy EMC platform or Pure Store and so on and so on and so on and so on, the fact of the life is, if you know the core 42 protocols of IT industry, you can do anything. Because all the thousands of manufacturers out there that make equipment so that you're able to use it, follow and work within those 42 protocols. That's it. Data busing is USB, serial, bridge, firewire, all that stuff is the same thing. It's called data busing. Motherboard technologies and how communications happen. The motherboard can be as small as a Raspberry Pi or as big as your room. It's still a motherboard. It's not complicated. They'd like to make it look complicated, and they'll do everything in their power to make you feel like you've got something special here. But the truth is, you don't. That's the funny part. So I make a reference to this because a long time ago, I'd say about 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, we IT storage architects and enterprise deploying platforms had a very tight niche that was fairly expensive, highly unique, and well trained, but constantly retrained. And it was a mechanism. The problem with that mechanism is you couldn't get into it. So all the young engineers, like, oh, I don't know, Brett over at 45 Drives and Linus and all these new guys coming in, see this monumental mound of accomplishments they have to get to the point where they could be a SAN administrator or they could be a enterprise storage administrator and so on and so on. They cheated. Yeah, they did. They cheated. They turned around and realized, well, heck, all you're doing is putting a lot of face dressing on a protocol. And one of those protocols that surfaced was known as ZFS. Now, I was fully trained on true ZFS, but most of you young engineers don't know what a 9100 ZFS array looks like because they don't exist anymore. They were such a short-lived platform by Oracle, who bought Sun Microelectronics, or what we know as the Sun Unix environment. Oracle bought them, and they built out this new ZFS platform that had 1 terabyte of RAM. This was back in 2008. Oh, I'm sorry, no, I'm wrong. It was back in 2011. And wow, I got on that thing and I was having fun. Screw the hard drives. I was working on the first terabyte of RAM. I made a heck of a RAM disk out of that bad boy. But unfortunately, because of the nature of the motherboard technologies and the segmentation of the channels, the 1 terabyte of RAM could never perform like hard drive disk did. And it became kind of a flop. Now, those of us who worked in NetApp and worked in EMC technologies, and we had our Navisphere environments and we had our ONTAP environments, we knew this already, and we let Oracle flop. But you youngins, as in Linus and Brett and many others, discovered that the protocol of ZFS was pretty doggone good. So you cheated. You turned around and you said, I don't need any of that training. I don't need all that proprietary hardware. I don't need any of that gear. All I need is the protocol of ZFS and a couple of disks. And lo and behold, they got it. They finally understood. If you know the protocols, everything else falls into line. That's not the same thing as software code. Two totally different things. Protocols are written into the attributes of hardware and can be accessible by software configuration. This is a protocol standard. Who writes the software to manage the protocol? That's where the magic plays. If you can CLI the same commands that Dell's SAT or HP's control tower or AWS's tier services could do, you don't even need any of that. So my question to all of you guys, and I apologize for ranting, I'm not really ranting, I'm just kind of giving you the next level. Where are you going? How do you get there? Not just randomly looking out there on the different websites and the different YouTube videos about the tools, but how do you get from all of this in the background into an asymmetrical construct that formulates a working solution? I have showed you how the hardware can be brought to life and how you can do it cheaply, really cheaply. I have been beating the heck out of that little Proxmox cluster up there and those Raspberry Pis down there, and they are holding true. Why? Because I knew that all I had was one operating system interfacing to 6 protocols. That's network, storage, that's DMS, direct management services, and process IO, SATA, and NVMe M2. Okay, or just straight M2 SATA. And that's it. I'm not doing anything else. I know all those protocols. I can work with them. I could even break the bias so I can make them do things they're not supposed to do. I'm having fun doing it. But then you put something like VMware, which is okay, but it's expensive. Or you put Proxmox down, and you can do it without the support agreement and run it in open source. Rock and roll. Now, with that, with that, you can put in Docker. And what does Docker do that VMware doesn't do? Well, it creates serverless environments. So I'm not kidding you. Back in 1999, 2000, when my second son was born, we were working with VMs, but they weren't called what we call them today. They were also referred to as VSs, virtual services. They didn't have a command kernel. They didn't have anything. All they did was run, back in the day, front page. That's it. The parent entity was controlled the kernel component of the equation. But the virtual services that were being rendered were way ahead of their time. And VMware came into the equation and said, well, before you start calling these virtual machines, let me redefine to you what we call a virtual machine. Back in the day, virtual machines were never, ever desktops, Microsoft Windows desktops. Don't get me wrong, VMware did a great job. When ESX came out, they really did redirect everybody in a different direction. But before that, we had virtual services and virtual machines. Virtual services did one single service. Virtual machines did multiple services. But they were containerized. But we didn't use the word container back in the day. We considered them more in a grouping. But as time evolved, that fell to the wayside. Technologies such as rapid deployment, such as what is known as RLX control tower deployments, went to the wayside. But very slowly and truly with good testimony, did they turn back around and realize, oh wow, man, this stuff kicks butt. We got to go back to that technology because the guys who built that knew really what they were doing. We had to go all the way around the tree to find out that virtual services and virtual machines in a non-GUI based interface was truly a good way to go. Now, please understand, I'm dyslexic. So because I'm dyslexic, I don't like CLI. It's cumbersome, but I do it. GUI is very important, but GUI, that's graphic user interface, that's Windows. That's this, right? So as you're working with that environment and you're toiling through the individual deployments and things like that, yeah, you need to have the individuality that command line offers. But when it comes to the day and you're done, and you step away and you look at your masterpiece, and it's constructed out of 3,800 different services, and you're supporting enterprise platforms and so on, the only competent way that you can do that is with a graphical user interface so that you can see it from a macro view opposed to the micro view that CLI offers. So the combination of the old days of CLI went away and kind of swung really hard to the left and did everything graphically. And now we realize, no, we need to kind of center up a little. We need some CLI when we need it. We need some GUI when we need that. So that's my strategy. Let me know if that's something you want to see. If you just want to see hardware stuff and you don't want to see the other side of the fence, I get it. That's okay. That's cool. I can do that. I'm kind of gaggly eyeing it at a 100 gigabit switch, but I really can't use a 100 gigabit switch yet. I just don't have enough need. I really don't. Maybe for 2, but that's it. I'm looking at some other opportunities, and if you have some and you would like me to consider them, I understand that I have limited funds, but I will absolutely try anything that I can get away with, or my wife will let me get away with. That is. So with that being said, this is Brad Dyke. Take it easy. keep being innovative and keep thinking outside the box. Have fun with this. That's where innovation really comes to play. When you know you're having fun is when you know you're doing something right. Well, I'm going to let you go. God bless. And you guys take care. Bye bye.